It all starts with a dead girl.
That single line is the cold open to the long-awaited new release by cult-acclaimed Bloober Team, coming exclusively to Microsoft Windows and Xbox Series consoles. I was very excited for this because this release finally gave me an opportunity to justify my $500 investment in Xbox Series X. Did it deliver the goods and live up to the hype that has preceded it the past several months leading up to its release?
It was the last photo I took of you, Jack.
The medium is what I would describe as a paranormal thriller. The concept is simple enough, but was also just well-paced to keep me engaged for the entire game. Yes, I played through this game in one single 9-hour session, but it honestly felt like it was about 4 by the time I was wrapping it up. I'll try not to give any groundbreaking mid and late game spoilers, but to quickly set up the story and the motivation. You begin the game playing as Marianne, who is quickly identified as a medium who can see into the supernatural world. We learn that she is an adopted child and that her adoptive father has passed, and we must go to the funeral home to help with arrangements. While exploring the embalming room, the lights flicker out, we go upstairs, and we are confronted with a split reality segment, which is the main survival horror gimmick that this game will rely upon throughout. The screen splits and we see reality on one side and a spirit plane on the other. This concludes with her helping her father cross over. Now, I don't feel this is some earth-shattering spoiler because this literally happens 20 minutes into the game, and this particular chain of events will be extremely important to my review in the end. After this scene is over, there is a phone call, and it's a mysterious man by the name of Thomas, and he is saying he knows what Marianne is, and if she wants answers to her most pressing life questions, that she must go to the Neva Resort and meet him there.
The Neva Resort. Find me there. Please. The light, it's almost gone. It's not dark yet, but it's getting there. You're the only one who can stop it. You're my only chance.
The Neva Workers Resort. Right off the bat, I could feel there was something off about that place.
The gameplay is very similar to if Silent Hill, Myst, Fallout, and Luigi's Mansion 3 had a love child. There's a lot of exploring to do. There are puzzles you must unravel to advance. Some puzzles require you to have an out-of-body experience to complete, or basically you are traipsing the spirit world while your physical body is kind of trapped in a trance-like state, which to me was very similar to the Luigi gimmick from Luigi's Mansion 3. And there are items you can pick up all over the world that if you use your insight, will play an audio recording of a memory attached to that item, kind of like the holotapes you find throughout Fallout. The areas you explore gave me huge Silent Hill warm and fuzzies, which is great because I miss the Silent Hill franchise, especially Silent Hill 2 and 3 when it was at its peak. And the outdoor wooded areas remind me so much of Toluca Lake areas and such like that.
Oh, what a mess. People can be such bastards sometimes. No wonder history keeps biting us in the ass.
We have to address the fixed camera angles in this. For those of you who have not played an old school survival horror game like Silent Hill, Resident Evil, or Alone in the Dark, this game has fixed camera angles you have no control over. Which has been a while since I've played a game with fixed camera angles, but man does it bring back so much nostalgia. It can take a bit to get used to, but once you do it's rewarding if implemented correctly. Unfortunately, in the medium, I felt like this needed some improvement. To me, what makes fixed camera angles work is they can build a sense of real foreboding dread, because you can't see necessarily what's coming up. And if you take a page from Team Silent's book and add sound design to boost this unnerving dread, you can make some seriously tense moments out of just a nonchalant stroll down the hallway. I feel like they missed a great opportunity in not having lots of creepy sounds and such when nearing corners or whatever, like this particular scene in Silent Hill 2. Even thinking about that gives me chills, and that right there is simply just the implementation of great sound design. Through the game, we discover a few superpowers or whatever that Marianne possesses. She can, of course, see the spirit world through the split screen thing. She can also do out-of-body experiences. She can make a shield where she can traverse dangerous areas with, and she can absorb these almost like memories or echoes to give a charge blast to send energy into the real world to electrify items. At many points, you will have to figure out combinations of these powers to get past roadblocks or puzzles. Speaking of puzzles, some puzzles had me stumped for quite a while until I was able to figure them out. And since I played this on release day, it was gratifying to know that I had to do the puzzle myself, because there was no walkthrough to refer to. I do give Bloober kudos because it really gave me that Silent Hill vibes trying to figure out some of these. For instance, one with a key code combination being important dates you've read in notebooks and things like that. Later in the game, you will switch to begin playing as Thomas, the man who called you in the beginning, as kind of a sometime in the past chapter. He too is a medium and has roughly the same powers as Marianne, except he has an energy blast where he can clear obstacles in his way, and energy pull where he can move obstacles, and a shield, and you can use that as a parry counter to use as an offense on certain enemies you encounter. His story is very heavy with some very taboo subject matter, and at times it was somewhat uncomfortable to play out. But on the other hand, he explores some of the most interesting level design that I've ever seen. I'm not going to spend too much time discussing my take on graphics or the motion capture in this review, because those should be pretty self-evident of how that is just by watching this. Now, there is no true combat in this game save Thomas's parry. You're either hiding from enemies, or running from enemies, or hoping you can escape attacks before you die because you forgot to charge your shield. I felt like this was kind of a drawback, or at least they could have had more enemies and more variety in evasion. But there were only just a few opportunities when this came to be. Otherwise, it's mostly just exploratory. If combat is what you require in gameplay, this game will most likely not be for you. But if you can really sink into an atmospheric exploratory, even at times walking simulator type game, then this is 100% up your alley. The one thing that really makes a survival horror game title stand on its legs is the audio. You can have everything going for you, but if you lack great audio design, there's just simply nothing there. For me, this is one of the stronger elements of the game, as well as one of its shortcomings. On the positive side, we have Akira Yamaoka, who led the audio design for all the Spirit World areas.
Gotta move fast.
And you will all know him instantly as the man behind all of the Silent Hill soundscape. And I felt like his compositions were really well made. And opposite to him was Arkadiusz Rejkowski, which, according to a wiki article, quote, using synthesizer and analog sounds, Rejkowski likened his approach to that of Stranger Things and Chernobyl, unquote. Which I can totally see, especially in the beginning, right after you hop the fence. I immediately got Stranger Things vibes from the sound.
Crazed workers, ancient curses. You know, the usual.
I heard on the Defining Duke podcast that they mentioned that both composers who worked on the soundtrack had stated that they are a fan of absence of sound when needed. And so they tried to key in a lot of silence to build tension. Now that approach works in spades on games like Dark Souls. Where the silence is used while traversing the areas really adds to the immersion. But in a survival horror game, silence to me is one of the worst things you can do. Again, like in Silent Hill 2, there was always some eerie sound or whatever going on. It just in the most mundane moments would cause the hair on your neck to stand up, because those sound cues that he used would really start to psychologically snowball in your mind. And I personally wish that they would have utilized much more of that type of approach, just odd, weird, prolonged notes held out to an unsettling degree while walking. Now, the originally composed songs were really serviceable, but I felt like Fade was a fantastic song.
Your light shows me the way, leads me astray to a place where I can stay.
That song really helped build that moment and setting in the game that it plays in. And I felt the voice acting was also well done. I've never really heard Kelly Burke before, but I felt like she did a really good job at portraying this character. And her love for the bolt cutter should transcend time.
So worth it. I love you, bolt cutters.
And be recalled back by gaming historians for decades to come.
Kinda sounds like a spy name. Cutters. Bolt cutters.
All this being said, if I was to give this game a hard score, I'd say a solid 7 out of 10, which is the same score I'd probably give the first Silent Hill. And the only reason I docked the score a few points is I think the medium has a lot going for it. But the thing I kept coming back to while playing was, what the heck happened to the crossover element we saw at the start? At the start, she assists her dad in crossing over, convincing him he has no more work to do, and she will be fine. But beyond that scene, that type of thing never really actually happens again. But considering the great things I did experience in this game, I personally felt like it's a solid foundation to build upon. If I was to make a sequel, I would have the game somewhat structured like how Murdered Soul Suspect was. And with the medium part 2, I would put like 8 spirits you meet with some attachment to that area that they're in. And the goal of that area is to assist that spirit in crossing over. I guess also kind of like how Fatal Frame is set up as well, how you have the main boss for each area. And once they cross over, they either drop a key or a tool or something so that you can leave and move on. I would have each area have more enemies and be able to use your kinetic abilities for combat. Thomas was able to. So we could be able to like charge up and zap monsters or something. I don't know, that might work. And then I would also work on doing much more of the sound design to build that creepiness, to prolong a sense of dread while exploring. To use the fixed camera and the soundscape that was really utilized in like Silent Hill 2 and 3 to really bring it home that you should not be at this location. So there is definitely room to grow, and I would welcome a sequel with these adjustments. I could easily put that in a high 9 out of 10 area. I really hope that they don't abandon this concept, but instead build and execute something again.
What? Who's there?
You promise.
The medium is rated M for mature and can be played on Xbox Game Pass, included in your monthly subscription at no additional cost, or can be purchased on the Xbox Game Store. And as of the recording, it's available for $49.99 US.
It's all your fault.
Jack?
It's too late, Marianne. It's all over. It all ends. In me!